All right, so we're recording. This is Lorena with FamilyVacationGoals.com, and we're coming to you as a panel to discuss our latest vacation. We sailed on the September 18th Disney Fantasy Cruise. Disney just started sailing in early September. I think it was the very end of August or early September, and it was only the second sailing that the Fantasy had been on. The Dream has been doing 3 and 4 night sailings. Typically, the Fantasy is a 7-nighter or longer, but they reduced it down to 4 nights because it's basically a test cruise that we went on. But I'll tell you, it was an amazing experience. We had a lot of fun. But first, I want to jump in and tell you a little bit about some of the initial requirements that Disney Cruise is making for all of its passengers. So it's important to know if you're eligible to travel on a Disney Cruise Line. The first requirement is that everyone 12 and over has to be fully vaccinated. If you're under 12, they require a negative PCR test within 3 days to 24 hours of the sailing. And then everybody has to be tested with a rapid test at the port, which we'll discuss kind of how that process went and what it was like for us. But they did a great job. It was much smoother than I anticipated, but you know, Disney's good like that. There's 2 different portals that you're going to have to fill out now. Previously for Disney Cruise Line, you just filled out the Disney Cruise portal where you answered a million questions, signed your kids up for a kids club, and created all the requirements for if they could go out with different people, if they could self-check out, what the password was. And also you uploaded information about your birth certificate, your passport, and all that jazz. Now you also have to complete a safe passage portal. Everyone over 18 has to have their own sign up and log in for the safe passage. You have to upload your vaccination card. You also have to upload your negative PCR test for everyone under 12 within that 3 days to 24-hour window. I highly recommend doing it for 3 days because we were stressing waiting for those tests to come back fast enough. And then once they've cleared your PCR and vaccination cards, you will get a QR code to print out. Disney's pre-cruise is also going to give you a QR code. So you'll have a QR code that has Mickey ears on it and a QR code that is for safe passage. And you're going to need both of those. And I'll give you some tips on how to make that easier. So let's talk a little bit about the port arrival. Port arrival is a little different than it used to be. It used to be that you could arrive plus or minus an hour or 2 of your port arrival time. Not anymore. Literally, we arrived 10 minutes before and we're told to circle until it was 5 minutes before our port arrival. So at 11:55, we rolled up in there and we're allowed to drop our luggage off with the porters. So porters will still pick up your luggage and bring it to the outside of your stateroom, which was very convenient and well done. And then you're going to drive into, if you're driving, you're going to drive into the parking lot where they start doing your PCR testing, because everybody, regardless of vaccination status, has to have that PCR test negative at the port. And they were very efficient with that. They provided swabs for us to do self-swabbing in the car. And we all had scanned our QR codes, did the test. And then we waited about 40 minutes to get our first, we had 2 different staterooms. So the boys got cleared first after about 40 minutes. And then we stressed for the next 20 minutes, wondering where our results were. And we ended up getting those in an hour. And what did we do when we got those negative results, guys?
We cheered.
We cheered.
We jumped up and down.
We did.
Howdy.
We did.
Like,
We were very excited. So
Cleared to sail, yay.
yes, ready to sail. And so the way that they're communicating that your tests are negative is that you can log into the Safe Passage website and they will let you know that you'll keep refreshing over and over and over like a crazy person. And then eventually it'll be green. And then they'll also email you letting you know that you are cleared to sail. And it was funny because we were sitting in the parking lot and of course the kids didn't want to sit in the car for an hour. So we were outside of the car just kind of waiting, and you'd hear little groups exploding of excitement and happy, and we're cleared here and there throughout the parking garage. So you could hear like little excited fireworks going off in the parking garage as people got cleared and were ready to go. Let's see here. Do you guys have anything you want to add about that whole process or about that port arrival or the waiting and the testing?
the waiting took a while.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, I do recommend bringing something to entertain your littles because they're not super patient, even when you're getting ready to go on a Disney cruise. Nope.
The whole process was super efficient, and it was all the people were, as with everything on the cruise, everyone was very congenial and helpful and patient. And it, just like all things Disney, it went very smoothly. And I was amazed at how nicely organized it was.
Yeah, a lot of people had said that they felt like the Safe Passage employees were cast members because they were so well trained and things were very efficient in moving us along. And that's a lot of people to manage. And speaking of people, once we got on board, we found out there was under 1,100 guests on board and under 200 kids on board. So typically the Fantasy accommodates 4,000 people, guests, plus however many cast members they have. So we were running at a sailing at about 25%, and it felt like that. It felt very, no lines, no waiting. It felt like a private cruise, and we can talk more about that too. So once you get your clear to sail, you're going to go in and enter on the third deck of the parking garage or up on the third level, and you're going to show your passports or birth certificates to get that clearance. You'll also be showing those QR codes again, both the Safe Passage as well as the Disney one. So have those readily available. What else did we have to, then we moved on to the luggage checking. So they'll check your luggage. You cannot have any liquids. So if you've been drinking and hydrating, make sure those are all gone before you enter. They'll be happy to give you more beverages once you get on board. And then they're going to call your boarding group. Our boarding group was already ready to go when we arrived. So we walked right into the Mickey ears. And then Grandma, can you tell us a little bit? Grandma, this is my mom's first Disney cruise. And well, it's actually her second Disney cruise. She went on the Big Red Boat 35 years ago, but this is her first real Disney cruise since then.
There were no similarities other than being in a boat in the ocean. That was about this was a completely different experience and 100,000,000% better. We went into the ears, and then, going through the TSA style security was very quick and easy. And then right onto the boat, and there you are in this incredible, I guess you would call it an atrium because it's numerous levels high. And it was very tastefully decorated, of course, as is everything on the boat for Halloween. And I was amazed by just the grandeur of it all. And I love the elevators that you can see the people going up and down on the outside corners of the elevators right there. And just, it's a lot to take in. It's a lot to take in because there's everything, the detail. The detail is just like when you're at Disneyland or Disney World, the detail is always exquisite. And I appreciate that. And it was certainly lovely as we entered in, and we were asked to stand in a certain area to keep distance from our other people on the boat and so forth. And that was very well done, and just, felt very welcomed. And there were Minnie and Mickey too.
Yeah. So as you come into the atrium, they're going to announce your party. So they'll say, welcome the Welch family. And all the cast members clap for you. And it feels like you're very special. And they continue to make you feel very special throughout the duration of our cruise. So we went, like my mom mentioned, and we had a special area, a little circle to stand on, and we got to watch the Minnie and Mickey welcome show. So the kids enjoyed that. Immediately after that, we were greeted by one of the cast members who directed us to our muster stations. And Jim, you kind of were in charge of that. You had your phone out and were managing that because I was taking a lot of video. Do you want to talk about what we did for the muster drill that was different than previous times?
Sure. What we did there, we basically, they gave you the letter or number, whichever one we had. We were P, so they directed us. It was in the tube, which is one of the lounges at the back of the ship. And once we got there, really all we had to do was get set up on the Navigator app. So if you, I hadn't fully set up the Navigator app yet. I was in there, but I hadn't. I wasn't on the Wi-Fi yet, and once I was on there, then really all I had to do was just follow the instructions, which were very simple, and really it was just checking in and just that there's a big, I think it was a QR code there too, that was just you just had to scan it into your phone and just say, hey, I was here, and right. Once we did that, we were good to go.
Can I say something?
Sure, buddy.
Also, when we were boarding, it was very, 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 very stressful.
It was stressful for boarding? What was stressful for you about it?
What if one of us got COVID? Then we couldn't go
You're right.
on.
Yeah. Yeah. So of course we were waiting for the all clear, and that was a little stressful because, you know, we driven all the way down there 8 hours, and it would have been super disappointing. But we were very committed to making sure that we were doing a safe sailing, and Disney was very committed to that too. So ultimately we were successful and had an amazing safe cruise, and it felt like a bubble of safety. It's very, especially living in South Carolina, there's no way to control your environment. And this was a controlled environment where all adults were vaccinated and all people had been tested very recently. So they had a lot of protocols in place to make us feel safer than we've felt in, I don't know, 18 months or so.
Plus, if I could just interject, everybody had to wear a mask on board inside.
Right.
And everybody did wear a mask. That was extremely well coordinated. You didn't see anybody without a mask inside.
Yeah, there was really good compliance.
The elevators and so forth. They had signs outside saying just, 2 people per elevator or your own party. People were extremely respectful of that. It's very different elevator etiquette, but people all understood. And, when people would come down and there'd be only 2 people on the elevator, normally you would get on that elevator. We didn't this time. We waited for the next one, which very quickly. But everybody, nothing like you're seeing on the airlines with people being like out of their minds because of mask mandates and their mask requirements and so forth. Everyone was very compliant, and it did feel like a safe bubble, like you said, Lorena.
Yeah, go ahead. If you'd like to say something.
Did you know that also there was a spray gun too, and there was what's it called again? There was 2 spray guns. There was a Nemo one and a Nemo one and
the
Donald
Lab. It's called the Aqualab.
Aqualab.
Yeah. Yes. We'll definitely get to all those cool amenities in just a minute, but thank you for bringing that up.
And also the Mickey Mouse pool.
Yes, the Mickey Mouse pool. You liked that a lot, didn't you? Yeah. So I would like to reflect back just a moment on what Jim said about the muster drill. So traditionally the muster drill, everybody packed into certain areas and you had to listen to all the information. The way they changed it was, like Jim mentioned, you go to your muster location, they sign you in, your entire party has to go with you. And then you're going to take a picture of the muster location to prove that you are at your muster location. Then the additional education for safety is done once you reach your stateroom from the TV. And I got to tell you, this was such an improvement over being shoved in there with all these other people as they're counting your heads. I cannot tell you how much better this experience was than the traditional muster drills. Jim, I don't know if you agree with the ease of this experience.
Absolutely. I remember the first time we were on a Disney cruise, we were outside. Our muster drill was outside, and it was probably 90 degrees out there at Port Canaveral, and we were packed in like sardines on just out there, and it was just sweating and just waiting for all the people to show up, and it was it was not a good way to start my first Disney cruise.
No, I agree with that. And, they do the best job they can with it, but this was so seamless and so easy. And hopefully this will be something that they keep post-COVID, even after other restrictions are lifted. And so let's talk about some of the restrictions and requirements that they have on board. Like my mom mentioned, everybody, if you're an inside location, you're not actively eating, you have to have a mask on. Also, all of those inside locations are socially distanced. So if there's an event going on, like a show, a game, family game, everyone is separated by 6 feet. So there's social distancing in addition to mask wearing too. So you really are set up for success and having the safest cruise you possibly can have. The other thing, so if you're outside, so if you're on the pool deck, you do not need to wear a mask, and people were being very respectful of distancing even on the pool decks. There's also capacities on the pools. So I believe it was 13 people per pool, and there were stanchions around the pool to make sure people weren't just hopping in, and you could wait in a queue. But I saw the queue a couple times, but with such a kind of quiet cruise, it wasn't used very often. They also have markers for the aqueduct, so that as you're waiting in line for the aqueduct, which is a kiddo's favorite, you're not right on top of each other, and people are very respectful about staying on their queues. It's very similar to the way that Disney had their spacing back in April at Disney World when we traveled. That's no longer there. So I think they learned a lot of good things to bring on board to create that social distance and safety. Any other restrictions that they had that you can think of when we were on board that the experience was different?
I mean, the only thing I'd point out is that, you know, to enforce some of the social distancing, they did have some, they had about every other table blocked off as saying this table is not available. Mm-hmm. And so that, you know, it wasn't that crowded anyway. So there was no problem finding a table anywhere in just about any situation. But, you know, you would see just certain tables, like you'd start to go to sit down and, oh, that one's not available. I'll just go a few more feet and there's another one right there.
Right.
Also, there's one more restriction. It's what you can't take pictures right by the characters. Like you can't go right up by Mickey Mouse or anything.
Good point, Everett. That's a great point. Yeah. So they have to do social distanced photos with the characters. The characters were there. We saw a lot of the characters, although my kids this time, oddly, were not too into them. They're too busy riding the aqueduct. But you could take distance selfies with the different characters, and they interacted with you too. So I know that Mulan was doing some posing with you, and I think Little Mermaid talked to you as well. And so the characters are certainly there still if you want to seek them out and take distance photos, but you can still have that interaction, just no physical hugs and no up close and personals. The other thing that was different was the beverages. Typically on deck 11, which is the pool deck, you can go and self-serve beverages, same thing at Cabanas, and they had staff providing beverages to you. So you could get whatever you wanted as many times as you wanted. And they would provide those to you so that multiple people are not touching those. Same thing with the endless ice cream. They gave that to you, whatever you wanted, and handed it to you with a little tray.
It's like a little metal holder. Like the cone just goes right into one of these little holes and it just slips right in. And then you just grab the ice cream cone and just grab it and walk off.
You sound like maybe you used that service, Everett.
Once or twice.
Couple, 2-3 times.
When he was finding silverware.
Go ahead, Evie.
Also at Castaway Cay, there's a beautiful beach.
There is a beautiful beach at Castaway Cay. All right.
You also get to go on that, what's it called again?
I don't know.
That brings you wherever.
Oh, the tram?
Yeah.
So there's the tram. The tram at Castaway Cay is also socially distanced. So that's a good point. And when you're on the tram, you do have to wear a mask. So that was one of the places when you're entering. So when you're exiting the ship and you're on the gangway, and then once you're on the tram, you have to wear a mask as well. But the rest of the locations, unless you're shopping or going to get food, in that food line, you have to wear a mask. But once you sit down, you don't have to wear a mask. So it is important to make sure you're bringing your masks and have a couple extras because, you know, if you're at the beach, stuff's going to get sandy and wet. So have a couple extras available when you're on Castaway Cay.
But just to point out, I did find myself in a situation after we had a little downpour there at Castaway where I did not have a mask on my person, and I was about to wait in line for food, and they offered me a mask just right there. So they did, that was available. They were making sure that people had them.
That's good.
And of course, they had hand sanitizer at every turn and hand wipes too when you went into any of the restaurants. So hand sanitizers were everywhere. There was a lot of hand sanitizing going on as well.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that Disney's always been really great about. And that's going to be the hand sanitizing. Even pre-COVID, they always had those wipes out front. And the hand washing stations at Cabanas where you're required to wash your hands, use the hand sanitizer before you enter.
Those were nice,
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why Disney historically has even had significantly lower illnesses from, stomach bugs and stuff. So they continued with that precedent. And so that was something that was actually the same as it used to be, but well received and available.
Can I say something?
Yeah, you can say something.
Okay. The wipes stink.
The wipes stink. Okay.
Yeah. They're
Can
really.
I say something?
Yeah, sure, buddy.
Also, you should definitely bring bug spray because me, Grandma, Sedona, and Evie all got very bit up.
Yeah. Buy some water bugs.
So that's one thing we hadn't encountered before, but Grandma had taken the kids, so Jim and I could go to the adult beach, which was gorgeous, by the way. It was the first time we've actually made it over there. We've been on these cruises twice. This is our third time, and I'm so glad we got to check that out. The adult beach at Castaway Cay was gorgeous, super low water, which was interesting, a very long shelf. But when we were out there, we got to see sand dollars and all sorts of little like sea urchin things. It was really neat. But but back to what Evie had mentioned was that there are sea lice in certain areas of the Caribbean where they will bite you. And Mom, you can speak to that a little bit about what happened. But
Yep,
Well, what was funny was that the first day that we were at the beach, that did not happen.
right.
Later, the second day, we were just about to get out and so forth. And I just started feeling a couple little itches here and there. And I said, anybody else feel some itches? And they did. But we got out and recovered very quickly. So it was,
Hey, look.
we went and rinsed
Mine
all
really
off and
sting.
everything.
You do?
Do you have bites on yourself, Everett?
No, mine just really sting because I was bleeding too.
No, you weren't.
I don't remember any blood, but
I was bleeding
Okay.
just a tiny
I
bit.
lost the leg. There was a shark.
there was. I think we're having a
We had to
different
amputate.
memory of things. I don't know.
There is a spray you can buy that is supposed to prevent sea lice, and I do have that listed on my tips and tricks document. We just have never experienced it before, and I do recommend that you bring water shoes for the kids because certain areas can be kind of pointy. And had we stepped on that thing that Jim found at the adult beach, the pointy little creature, that would have hurt really badly. So I highly recommend water shoes. So let's talk about. So we kind of got those basics down. The porters delivered our suitcases to the room, and instead of normally at check-in you'd get the key to the world card, which is your key that you're going to put in your lanyard and scan in all the different places, but they were actually outside of your room, and they were in a sealed envelope. So that's where we received our keys, which is a little bit of a difference. And then we entered our room, and since we're silver cast members, we had new lanyards and a thank you gift. And you know, the room, the service, I want to talk about the service and the experience. The service from people cleaning constantly in the hallways, and that's another COVID thing, but people are constantly cleaning all the elevator buttons, the handrails, the hall handles, like over and over and over again, you'd see staff consistently cleaning. And while COVID, it's been kind of determined that that's one of the lesser chances of contracting COVID. They were on top of it and making sure that everything was really, really clean. But the service was amazing. We wanted for nothing. As soon as I finished a drink, the next one was there. Everyone was so friendly and like genuinely welcoming. There was not anyone that had the tiniest bit of attitude, the tiniest bit of strain. They went out of their way to make us feel really welcomed and appreciated, and frankly spoiled us rotten.
It was awesome. The woman who took care of our room, her name was Ruth. And I told her she was our fairy godmother because I would no sooner use a towel, we'd leave the room and come back and the towels would all be replaced again. I mean, she kept the fresh towels going, and that was meaningful to me. And, you know, the turn down service was amazing. And of course, you know, I know that cruises are known for their towel sculptures and so forth. And
Animals, yeah.
But let me tell you, I had to deconstruct some of these sculptures that she just to see how she did them, because I was so impressed and amazed by them. Plus, there was plenty of space. Everything was spotless in that room. The bathrooms, I couldn't believe the shower. The pressure was amazing.
Yeah, they had really good water
Amazing
pressure.
pressure. I never dreamed that we'd have the pressure that we had. And, you know, they provide you with all the toiletries, and I'm talking big things. I'm not talking the little mini things. I'm talking the big things with the bumpers, and just top notch, absolutely top notch.
Yeah, we had, like I mentioned, we had 2 staterooms and they were connecting. And so there are veranda rooms. And so also our verandas connected, which was really nice. I really enjoyed having connecting verandas because after the kids went to bed, we were able to sit outside and kind of chat and enjoy enjoying the scenery during the day and even the scenery at night. It was kind of fun you could see different things out in the distance. And I really enjoyed that. Yes, baby.
What's her name again?
Whose name?
The person who
Ruth.
Ruth. Oh, she's getting added to the list. Ruth's getting added as number 10. I think she wants to talk about to the list.
Wait, how do you spell Ruth's name?
Ruth. And the entire stateroom, there's a lot more space in the Disney Cruise staterooms than there are in other traditional, like a Royal Caribbean or a Carnival stateroom. And the quality, like my mom mentioned, was second to none. The sheets are perfect. The beds were super comfortable. They took care of all the turn downs. So in the staterooms, if you've never cruised before, you may not know that beds come out of the ceiling and turn into like a bunk bed. So the kids really enjoyed that. The couch turns into a bed, and then the bed comes out of the ceiling to turn into a bunk bed. So you can accommodate 4 in the majority of rooms. In certain rooms, you can accommodate 5 because they'll have 2 beds that come out of the ceiling. And so ours had the 4 accommodation. Anything else about the stateroom that we want to mention?
I know you said comfortable beds, Lorena, but this was a big deal for me too.
Yeah.
Because never have I gone on a vacation when I didn't wish to be back home in my own bed. This is the one and only time the bed was so incredibly comfortable. I had to pull back the sheets and see who it was made by, because that will be my next mattress. It was the best sleep, I got to say. It was a phenomenal bed, and that's a rarity that you get a comfortable bed anywhere when you're on vacation.
Yeah, another thing of note is the way that they have the bathroom set up. So, and there's two different entrances for the bathrooms. The left side is the shower and the sink, and then the right side is the toilet and the sink. So you have two sinks. And so one person can be taking a shower while the other is getting ready and using the toilet. And I found that very convenient as having family, that we can kind of process them in and out in both of those spaces.
Very much
Especially
so.
having adjoining staterooms like that, where we really had four sinks available at one time, and that was amazing.
Made for much more efficient mornings to get out the door.
It did. Go ahead, Evan. Yeah.
So at the third to last night, there was just this mysterious thing that was laying on each of our beds. Ruth left each of us a huge bag of candy.
Yeah.
For Halloween, because we went on a Halloween cruise, and that was very cool.
And remember, I also gave you that bag of candy.
Yeah, so we got more candy, we got more sugar. This is a highly sugared experience. You can't miss that.
This is
the kids were real high on their sugar intake during this cruise. So this was, like they mentioned, a Halloween cruise. They had some different activities for Halloween. I wouldn't say it was the most Halloween-y experience I've ever had. They certainly had, some Halloween things and theming. They did do a Halloween show, which was fun for the kids to go in. It was a dance show that they watched. But I wouldn't say it was, I think I was a little underwhelmed with how much Halloween they did versus how much I was maybe expecting. And I don't know if that's a part of due to COVID or that's just what they've always done. Because we haven't been on a Halloween sailing before. It was still super fun. And the kids loved
there's the bag.
And I know traditionally they did like a trick or treat experience on board, but they couldn't do that because of COVID. So that may have had something to do with it. So let's think. So Castaway Cay, let's talk about Castaway Cay. So we love Castaway Cay because, well, first, everyone on the island is vaccinated. So, and everybody on the island, including staff's vaccinated. So you didn't have quite the concern that you're having when you're seeing level 4 Caribbean with the CDC, because you had a little bit more of a controlled environment than you would have, if we had stopped in Nassau, which was the original intent, was to stop in Nassau, but they're doing double dips at Castaway Cay. And I'm never going to complain about that, because I would a million times rather go to Castaway Cay than go to Nassau. Castaway Cay has tons of beaches. There's 2 family beaches, 1 adult beach. There's adult cabanas as well as family cabanas that you can rent for an exorbitant cost, and good luck getting them because they're always booked up like way in advance. But those are available. While we were at Castaway Cay, we did the Stingray adventure. So Grandma and Evie and Sidoni did that. Evie, what did you think about the Stingrays? Would you like to tell us what you thought about the Stingrays?
I loved them.
You loved them. What did they feel like?
They felt like their bone on the top felt weird.
Yeah, that did feel a little weird. Yeah, but they were kind of rubbery.
They just kind of swam around my legs.
Were they trying to give your legs hugs? They were, yeah. And tell us about how they came up. How did you get to pet them? What were you offering to them?
I was offering food.
You're offering food, and they would swim up on this little kind of station, and you could pet them and feed them. The nice thing about the Stingrays at Castaway Cay is that their barbs are shaved. So they're not removed, but they're shaved, and they're kind of taken care of like toenails so that you can't be harmed while you're feeding them. There's no stinging happening. So that, of course, as a nervous mom, helps me relax and enjoy it. Castaway Cay also has a barrier reef, which keeps larger fish and sharks out of that area, so you can relax a little bit more as well. This was your go ahead, Jim.
It also calms the surf a lot too. So there's really no waves to speak of unless it's a really windy day. So it is it's a very calm beach, very calm seas. So you really don't, and it's also, there's not a whole lot of real deep areas. So it's a nice, if you're concerned about your kids and they're swimming, it's a really good place for a beach day.
Yeah, it's a nice waiting area. So you can kind of just sit down with your kids and they can play. They can play in the sand. You can bring a chair down. That's the other thing. With the capacity being only at 25%, there was so many places we could sit wherever we wanted to on the beach. It looked like it was empty. The food was good there as well. So, the nice thing about Castaway Cay is that everything's included there as well for food and drinks, non-alcoholic beverages, of course. So you can eat there, or you can go back on the ship if you want to have lunch. But we enjoyed some good old barbecue there, and they had very good cookies, right?
The cookies and the ribs were amazing.
Yeah,
Truly good. Yes.
they also have a splash ground that the kids enjoyed. They have a lot of other things to do there too. They have volleyball, they have tetherball, they have ping pong, and what is the little guy with the little guys? What is that called?
Air hockey. They had pool tables.
Yep, you can rent bikes, you can rent floats, there's a ton of different activities to do at Castaway Cay. And for the majority of those sporting adventures were available. But just relaxing on the beach was really nice. There's lots of shade if you need it with all the beach umbrellas.
How many things there?
That's a lot of things you've got, yeah.
Yeah, the beach was very beautifully appointed. I mean, as I laid there on my back looking up at all the different umbrellas, all the different colors, just perfectly positioned. It made it look like something out of a dream, a postcard, if you will. It's beautiful. And I remember going into the restroom the first time and not knowing quite what to expect. My goodness, the bathroom stalls were very spacious and just clean as can be. Everything was just perfect. I mean, it could not be any more perfect than it was. The shopping was nice there too. I picked up a few souvenirs at the shopping. Of course, I had to wear my mask, but yeah, they think of everything. They
really do. The aesthetic is important to Disney, and the attention to detail is important. And you really recognize that, especially if you've been anywhere else in the Caribbean. You'll notice the difference between the Disney Caribbean and then the regular Caribbean. Not that it's bad, it's just you'll notice the difference in the quality, and the details are really well maintained. There's not going to be any rusty beach chairs or anything like that.
Yep.
Anything else about Castaway Cay before we talk about the different things to do on board? Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
So did we already mention that about the ice cream and stuff?
No, but go ahead. Yeah, we've talked about the ice cream, but I think you want to talk about it again.
So for Castaway Cay, you basically have two flavors in the mix on the cruise. But you have
strawberry, banana,
flavors, and two mixes at Castaway Cay.
Strawberry
and
banana.
The same thing with like the metal.
Strawberry and banana.
So the strawberry and banana, if you haven't caught on to that, yeah, so strawberry and banana.
That's my favorite.
So onboard things. So what are you going to do when you're on board? There's a million things to do. We went to a lot of different family games, and so that's still happening, and they're still offering that, but it's distanced. And to give you an idea of how into this Disney is with protocols, they had microphone covers on the microphones that they swapped out, like changeable microphone covers. And if they didn't have the covers, they were sanitizing the microphones in between people coming up to talk in them. People weren't even touching the microphones, and they were sanitizing them.
Amazing.
Yeah. And they also did a lot of prizes. So they had the winners of different games, and my kids really enjoyed participating in them. They have bingo, they have karaoke, they have dance parties, they have just tons of stuff going on constantly. Also the character interactions. They have adult beverage experiences too. I went and did a wine tasting, which was super fun. So I got to taste a bunch of different wines and learn about the origins of those wines. And that was a neat experience. Jim did a beer tasting.
Yeah. I think you're forgetting one of the most fun things, Lorena, is that you and Jim won the Match Your Mate. It's kind of like a newlywed game type of show. You won. You took home the big prize. But Jim, I'll let you continue about your beer.
Yeah. So the beer tasting, I had been looking through the Navigator app, just trying, because I was interested in doing one of the tastings, but none of the beer tastings were available. And so, I thought, the whiskey tasting was usually available. And I thought, well, maybe I'll go do that. But then I just happened to check one time about 45 minutes before one of the beer tastings was supposed to happen, and it showed available. Booked it. There I was, and it was great.
Yeah. So availability is always changing on the app when you're on board. So it's worth continuing to check different things for availability. We did not do any of the adult upgraded dining at Palo or Remy. We went to Palo last time and it was a great meal, but I got to tell you, all the restaurant meals are really good too. And the food's top notch. It's gourmet, delicious food, and you can get whatever you want to. Like one day I just got mostly appetizers and a dessert. You can do whatever you want. They'll bring you as many as you'd like. I don't know if you guys want to speak about, maybe we're recording. I don't know if you want to maybe speak about the food experience.
Jim, I'll let you go.
Yeah, they were basically anytime at least I showed any kind of hesitation or question about whether there was, which one's better? Is it this one or is it this one? They bring me both of them. And at that point I had to eat both of them.
Right.
It was just and and to answer the question which one was better, they were both amazing. So I mean, really everything, all the food was great. Even from the Castaway barbecue to the dinner entrees and the appetizers and the desserts. I mean, I don't think I had anything that was even mediocre.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
One of the things I think we need to get to, so we can wrap this up, is the Oceaneers Club. So the Oceaneers Club has changed as far as how it's run. Previously, you just dropped your kids off whenever you wanted to, picked them up whenever you wanted to. Now with COVID, they're requiring reservations in advance. And so we were concerned before going on this, like, oh God, the kids really like the kids club. If they're only going to be able to stay on for either an hour and a half or 2.5 hours a day, that's going to be really rough. Like, how are we going to do? It's going to be a very different cruise. But what we found was that, yes, you could book one childcare reservation per day in advance before you got on board. But once you got on board, there were tons of other opportunities to book additional childcare at the Oceaneers Club. Edge and Vibe, which are the teen and tween, they do not need reservations, but you do need them at the Oceaneers Club. Now, the kids' experience at the Oceaneers Club was a little different. Everett in particular remembers what the Oceaneers Club was last time. And it was kind of a create your own adventure where you got to do whatever you wanted to do, whenever you wanted to do it. Now they have kids in a rotation. So kids rotate in up to 15 kids per group, and they rotate you through all the different areas. So you certainly get to see all the different areas, but you're going in a rotation with your group. And so there's a little less autonomy. And at first, Everett was not very excited about that, but he ended up going back a bunch of times and really enjoying it.
Yeah, because I found the best game in the world.
Oh, what's the best game in the world?
Star Wars Idol.
Can I say something?
Okay, sure, Evie. What did you think about the Oceaneers Club?
We had to rotate, and they were also we also got to make slime, and Everett didn't participate.
Everett didn't participate in the slime. So we're gonna tattle during this panel. That sounds right.
I never had the time because I left early.
So did they give you opportunity if you didn't want to participate? You didn't have to participate?
No, that's because I left early for the movie.
Okay. All right, gotcha. So the kids club is a little bit different. The kids still did enjoy it, but it is different, and that's something that you need to know going into it. For example, we did go to a movie, and I had to get up in the middle of the movie to go and get one of the kids to put them back into the kids club, which was a pain. I won't lie. Like, that was not great. Probably if I was there for 7 days, we would have had more flexibility as to when the movie was happening, and I would have planned that better. But that wasn't great. I think that I probably could have potentially booked them for a 2.5 hour booking if I had paid more attention to that, but I didn't. Not the end of the world. I missed a few minutes of the movie as I checked them out and checked them back in. But that was something to be aware of if you're planning to cruise. They're also not doing any dining in the Oceaneers Club, so kids can't eat. So that's why they're keeping it down to the 1.5 hours. Previously, they would feed them dinner or lunch or snacks. There's none of that right now. Also previously, they would pick the kids up from dinner from you, first and second dinner, that one of the counselors would come and pick up all the kids and bring them down to the Oceaneers Club. That's not happening either, which was kind of a bummer because we did enjoy rushing the kids' food and then sending them to the Oceaneers Club so we could finish our meal as adults and in the quiet. But it was less of an issue because as our kids are older, you know, they're able to maintain themselves and in theory better at the dinner table as we all finish. More Fanta, yeah. Okay, I think that was Oceaneers Club. Was there anything else that we should review before?
Did we already do dining?
Sprite too.
We did dining.
And also, you always get a servant too that does your ketchup as Mickey Mouse.
It's a server.
Server.
And yes, they do make your ketchup into a Mickey Mouse. So the kids really enjoyed that. Now they demand it from us at home, which is super fun. So get ready to learn how to make Mickey ketchup.
Done many Mickey ketchup.
The other thing is, you know, even at your movies, you're going to be socially distanced at the shows. So they have Broadway style shows. Aladdin and Frozen were on ours, and then those were all socially distanced. And they had you leave at a very specific time. So you had to wait to leave until you were released so that you wouldn't be right on top of another group. They did have fireworks, and so that was really fun to watch, but that was socially distanced too. So everyone got a dot to stand on to watch the fireworks, even though they were outside. And the fireworks was short for about 3 minutes. Yeah, Evie couldn't make it to the fireworks. She was sleeping. And we could actually see them from our starboard veranda. So Jim got to watch the fireworks, even though he was sitting back in the room with Evie, who was passed out because she was exhausted.
Mama, and you also never got to show me the firework video.
I will show you the firework video, I promise.
Yeah, you mentioned the verandas too, Rena. I just wanted to say how much I enjoyed the verandas. I would just love to sit out there in the evenings and stand and just gaze at the water over the side. And one night on the way back, the full moon was out and it just illuminated everything. And it was just, words I would use to describe it were majestic and magical. It was just, it was, I know that seems a little over the top to say it was life-changing, but it was really, I loved it. I loved being out there on the veranda and looking at the water and the wind in my hair. I was
the wind in my hair.
The world.
Yeah. Exactly.
I really enjoyed the veranda a lot.
Right. And we are vacationing people, and we had missed 2 cruises because of COVID, because they weren't sailing. And then I was just too nervous. And I would not lie to you to say that I wasn't nervous about going on this cruise. And that I wasn't concerned that maybe we were making not the best choice, but retrospectively, and hindsight is always 2020, we really did. And the kids had an amazing time. We needed this vacation as a family. We needed this time together to just shut out reality and be in our little bubble. And I'm really glad that we did that, because reality is not as fun as our bubble of Disney safety. So
it was tough coming back though.
Reality is always, reintroducing yourselves to reality is always rough. You're like, wait, where's my
work the next day was tough. That's
I know,
true.
Right? So if you have questions about an upcoming Disney cruise, I'm happy to help you step through the different questions you might have to get you booked. Right now, they're running some really great discounts on Disney cruises, 25% off of certain sailings, which you will not see that pricing again. And if you go soon, you're still going to get to enjoy these really low capacity sailings where I tell you it was like a private cruise. So now Mom's really spoiled, because once we're back up and back up to full 4,000 people, she's gonna be like, what? It's still
my timing was perfect this time around. Yeah, my timing was good.
Yeah, it was really special. And yeah, so thanks everyone for the panel. I appreciate everyone's input. Anything else you want to say, buddy?
No, but we still.
Okay, everyone wants to share his favorite things. Go ahead, Everett.
So I love the dessert, the aqueduct, the kids club, grandma, pool, food, the sports simulator, which I got to do.
Oh yeah.
The tube and the bunk bed and candy.
Yes. Okay, Evie, what were yours?
Okay. So, desserts, kids club, pool, spray ground, bunk bed, tablets, Mickey ears, walking through the Mickey ears, Castaway Go chocolates.
The room chocolates, yeah.
Oh yeah, we got tons of dogs.
Yeah.
They're giving us chocolate.
Okay, that's they're all basically all basically.
I'm skipping that.
Okay.
We can't see it, Evie.
Okay. All right. I think that my favorite thing was feeling relaxed, more relaxed than I felt in a long time, and being on vacation and just having fun and going with the flow. And when I'm on vacation, I'm on vacation. So the answer is yes to the kids for whatever they want to do for the most part. Yep, sure, we can do that. And and there's a lot to do.
You can have Fanta.
Yeah, exactly. Jim, what was your favorite thing about the cruise?
I just love having all the activities that were available, and just, you know, there's almost too many things, and you know, there were some things that we probably passed on, but there were so many things that we got to do, and it was nice that we got to watch Shang-Chi and the last night, and did anyone mention the food yet? Because that was amazing.
Yeah, even my cheeseburger. And also, I have this little part. Grandma
was your favorite part?
And Daddy and Mama and Sidoni and Everett.
So your family was your favorite part? That's so nice.
Yes, I also wrote family.
Yes.
Oh, that's exactly right.
I know,
that was my favorite part too.
Yeah. One of the nice things about the Disney cruise, especially with the Oceaneers Club, is that you really can have one-on-one time with your kids. You can have family time. You can have single time. You can have couple time. You can have grandma in the kids' time. So there's the childcare that's available really does allow for you to spend that special one-on-one time that you don't get normally, especially with a middle kid, right, Everett? Yeah.
It's very much like a city on the ocean. I was blown away by the magnitude of the boat, and one venue was just as cool and decorated and designed as well as the next one, each one with its own personality. It was a really lovely time, and I really appreciated going and there and everything. It's hard to narrow it down to one thing that was my favorite, but being with my family, of course, was my favorite thing. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Bye.